Somebody might say it means no, or it means to mark or locate. Crossroads. Or nexus.
What about two sticks coming together to start a fire?
You could say that, so it's like not only crossroads or intersection, or just basically two sticks, or you could say that then this is the, well, again, that's like a crossroads of two things convergent, again, that's the other word, converging. Anything else? Somebody said something, I think I missed.
Target.
A target.
Multiplier. Continue.
A destination.
Multiplier, continue? How do you get continue out of that?
Well, if you multiply, that means...
You're talking about the mathematical symbol times.
Yeah, if you multiply,
Okay.
you're going to have more offspring, or they're going to continue.
If you didn't know mathematics with that symbol, how do you get multiplication out of that symbol?
I'm a smart caveman.
Oh, no, I don't know. Well, that's like using number 9. I'm just saying, if we didn't have a use of that other set of symbols, if you were just primitive symbol.
Times.
Okay, so we're not going to do multiply, because that was a okay.
You
Gee.
can't use times then. No.
Well, because it looks like multiplication symbol with mathematics, which is another number set or a symbol set.
It's where the buried treasure is.
Okay, so that again has to do with mark or locate, which has to, it also means not just know, but also end, which is to say, okay, if this is where the treasure is, that's the end of your search.
Well, covenant, when they would cut themselves and share the blood, covenant.
Okay, covenant.
Oh, crossing over,
Crossing over, crossroads, the converging, the same sort of thing. Okay, anything else? Okay, I believe we have them all, so let's start putting them together. So
How about sign here?
exactly, that in today's lingo, when you have a contract and you get down to the bottom, you put an X, you sign your name, and if you're illiterate, you don't know how to write, you can sign an X, which means I'm in agreement. It's good, I'm good with this X. Okay, now, let's see if we can add the two symbols together and come up with a synthesis, a blending of these two. What do we get if we add these two together? Can you read what you've written down? Okay, remember this was turning around and some kind of authority of a staff and a pulling the guy off stage or rescuing, and this was an engineered device for calibrating. So, and plus more. I mean, you guys can look at what you wrote. Can anybody put those together and tell me what they think those two mean?
Are we going right to left or left to right?
It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do a collection of 2 letters, and then I'll go back with another. We've got a little bit more time in front of us. I'm just taking 2-letter collections here.
So these two will make one word?
We're not don't think of word. Think of a combination of the images that we just wrote down. So if you take these 2 letters together, one of them had to do with the staff, the pulling the guy off the stage, or the rescuing, and plus the other things you wrote. And this one had to do with like this engineered compass.
Controlled authority or controlled power.
Controlled authority or controlled power. Does that seem to make sense? Does that resonate with people? Okay, controlled authority. Now, just to say, if this was a sextant, the authority, you might say, is to determine where are we on the high seas. Okay, this is the voice. This is the voice of locating, and this is a control mechanism because it's an engineered device that's hooked together just like this. Like a travois is an engineered device, a wheelbarrow is an engineered device. Somebody thought about it, put the lines just where they needed to be in order to accomplish the task, right? Works in a predictable manner. That is a controlled authority. Now, you might take the words, controlled authority, and run with them. Don't make me stop this car. If I have to stop, if I have to take authority over this moving vehicle and bring it to a halt, okay, it's the same concept, right? So the controlled authority in and of itself, this is what I'm trying to show you here. This phrase does not do justice exactly to looking at this letter individually and this letter individually. You see that? If you looked at, when we looked at each one of these 2 letters individually, your brain was in one place. Now that we've pulled them together and been forced to mix them, it goes to a different place. And then when you're pushed into wrapping it up succinctly, it puts it in something else which doesn't exactly deny the other, but it's not the same as the other. Maybe it's less than, maybe it's more than, but it's different, but it's not opposed, right? That's the way translations work. We just translated that word. But I'll tell you, that's not the way that word is translated. But when I show you the way that word's translated, you'll see that it fits. So you guys, being illiterate, just translated one of the most important words in all the Scripture. Do you realize that? Completely illiterate, and you just translated one of the most important words used many times in all the Scripture. Controlled authority. And you got that not because of anything other than looking at the pictographic inference of those, what you might call logograms, like a we call them an icon, basically, or a, what do you call it, name escapes my mind.
Logo.
A logo. Logogram, a logo, yeah. Okay, here. Now I'm gonna put a couple of other letters together. What do you get from those two? This X was, remember, to locate, or here's the spot, or the crossroads, or the sign of agreement, and here's this one that was a claw, this movement. What else did we have on that one? Does anybody want to look at your notes and just give me what seems to be a way to wrap those together?
You didn't do the second one. You didn't do the second one.
This one? Yeah, that was one of the first ones we did.
Use the different symbols.
Oh, you're right. Here.
Oh, that's better.
Just so you know, it's all the same thing. I drew it this way on that paper in order to influence your thinking. I wanted to make the claw easier to see. That's a legitimate shape. You'll see people still use that. In fact, what you'll see mostly, they use it shaped like this. Same image. Okay, what do you get out of those two letters?
Working towards a goal.
Would you agree? Working towards a goal? Okay, but this is the work and that's the goal, right? So this is goal and this is work towards. But that infers working in that direction. In Hebrew, it happens to be read that direction. But I'm still going to put it up there because, again, these answers aren't right or wrong. I'm trying to get you to see what's in here. Anybody else?
Plan.
What?
Plan.
Plan?
Yep.
Okay, a worked goal is the concept of a plan. And if this means end, then that means actually the accomplishment of a plan. Right? A goal if you're working towards a goal, and if you've got to the end of the goal, then that means a plan concluded, maybe even, right?
Like a vision?
Or done. Okay, what's working towards the goal is another way to say that is vision, okay?
Movement agreement.
Movement of agreement. Okay, he just said completion. So if you have these, remember we're talking about intersection of cross sticks. If you have two sticks that are moving towards agreement, that's completion. So that fits. So moving towards agreement.
Work in progress?
Completion. Well, there's a difference between if it's a completion or a goal. If this means the goal, then the work in progress would be going towards the goal. Okay, so that being said, the letter right in front of this is this letter. So what then, this is a bad symbol, what I'm showing you is a symbol that means essentially the two arrows going in that direction means it's a force pushing in that direction. Just a shorthand. So if you say that what is moving towards the goal, or what are these two sticks that are moving towards agreeing a completion, is this letter. So then what do you get when you put this letter that you said was a fruit, a baby, an eyeball,
A life?
a life?
visualize, motivate.
A light force?
Can't hear.
Light force?
A life force moving towards a completion. Okay, so if we say life force moving towards the completion, let's say agreement accomplishment.
Keeping your eye on the goal that you're working towards.
There you go. Keep your eye on the goal. Keep your eye on the goal you're working towards. That make sense?
Yeah.
Strong destination.
A strong destination. If this has to do with strong, and that's what where your eye is moving towards, or your vision, then that means this is a strong vision. See that? Go ahead and write these things down so you'll keep a record of this, because, like I said, once we do this, you'll never see it again. You'll always see it differently. And okay, now here's another one.
Oh, that cross, X mix matches or it combines the vision with the accomplishment, so it's theoretical and practical.
Okay, if the eyeball is theoretical, meaning something in your mind, this arm, hand, claw is something practical, so he says this is a blending of the theoretical and the practical, coming together and accomplishing and converging at the spot which is the target. That seems to work, right? Okay, now, if I give you this symbol here, okay, this is the triangle and the claw. What are those two? Work with caution. Work with caution. Anything else?
Work slowly?
Well, so you're saying that this represents work, and this one has to do with tempering or qualifying the nature of the work. So what you're reading now is that this is an action, and this is a, you might say if this was a noun, this would be an adjective. If this is a verb, this is an adverb. So if this was work, this is slowly, or this is a apple, this is red, or this is now saying something about that. Now, that's the way sentences work. If you were to, see, here's another thing. As you might say that you use the word fractal model, the way sentences are constructed is you have like beads on a string, word, 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 word. I mean, you don't just jumble them all together, but they're in a context of chronology where one's a noun and the other one's a verb, and the other one's a subject, and the other one's a predicate, and another one's this. So when you're putting letters together, you can do the same thing. So you can read them in sequence, but the problem is with Hebrew that you're not familiar with exactly is similar to in English we say White House. In Spanish you'd say Casablanca, which is house white. It's inversed, and Spanish and Hebrew are very similar in a lot of ways. Spain used to be called the Iberian Peninsula. Iber is the same word as Eber, which is Hebrew. So Hebrews used to live in Spain, which is why it was called, and the same thing as in Ireland, Hibernia, the same word. But what I'm saying here is that you can look at it both ways. That this is acting on this, where this is an adjective of that, or you could look at it as two different actions, because remember this had to do with this convergence. So, in other words, don't let yourself get locked into one train of thought. One reason for having all these different ideas is to show you that your mind might go, oh, noun adjective, or verb adverb, and somebody else will say, no, these are two nouns, or these are two verbs. Or this isn't either one of those two, this is a picture, like what we got down here, where this is, you know, a convergence of the practical and the conceptual coming together and accomplishing the intention, which is like, wow, that's a pretty good thing. And I'm not denying that anything you're saying is correct, because what we're doing is brainstorming, we're midrashing, we're hunting and investigating here. Okay? So, again, I'm just trying to keep us on track by saying that, making sure that we're all on the same page. Yes?
Efficient performance, quality control, or ergonomics?
Ergonomics, efficiency control,
Or quality control.
quality control. Does anybody see what he's talking about, or do you disagree at all? Do you understand? So he's qualifying the work. Ergonomics is a tool made to fit your hands so you can work better, or a chair made so it's more comfortable and doesn't make your back hurt. So this is the converging, which is to say the practical, the expedient, and the fiscally sound with the task that's to be done. And he's putting those together. That actually, I think, is a pretty good meld there. Does anybody else have any concepts?
Hey Eric, couldn't it just mean focus on your goal?
Focus?
Focus on your goal?
Focus, what, this?
Yeah,
How so?
the triangle, everybody's thinking that
Okay,
it's.
so we're
not-
talking about coming in, so now this has to do with the claw, the hand, that's causing something to happen, zero in on the, so focus on your goal. Does that,
Focus on your
you can
goal.
see that? Yes.
Cooperating, working together, unified.
Okay,
Working in a unified fashion.
so this is another aspect of this same type of thing, cooperating to converting. So if you have a crew, let's all do the same thing with the same purpose in mind, so we get there at the same time, and instead of one part of the bridge up here and the other one down here, right? So you have to have a unified goal in mind so that you can work to it with the same energy and focus and intent for the sake of accomplishing it. So do you see that?
Networking.
Networking, that's right. This is functional networking. And to put this claw, this hand in front of the concept of networking is to even say functional networking. So if this is networking, then you look at that and say, well, there's a hand of capability, so that makes it functional. So functional networking would actually fit there, right? Okay, now here, we're going to mix two other ones together, which is to say, we're going to stick this in front of this. Hi. Okay, so what do you get when you put this then in front of that and you string this all together? Functional networking. Now we're combining these two letters together. What does that look like? Functional networking, the concept merging with the using the functional, the actual physical process to accomplish the goal. But what does it do when you mix these two together? It might be easy just to look at those two by themselves.
I see it coming together.
You see it coming together? Okay, what does it mean?
I don't,
You see it coming together? Okay, what does it mean?
I don't know.
What it means is you see it coming together. This is converging and that's seeing, so you're seeing it coming together, right?
Yeah.
So were you just kidding when you said you see it coming together?
No.
But that's what it says. I see it coming together.
That's the word.
So you actually read what it said, though you thought you were saying you didn't know what it said.
Well, I thought you were tricking me.
No, I wasn't tricking you. I thought you were tricking us. Here, I'll bring you guys up. Did anybody else not get one of these? I'll bring you up to speed. You need to. This is what we're looking at. This is an ancient petroglyph. The guy with the animals is petroglyph, and I wrote this. These words were not on it. Anybody else not get one? And we're basically saying, look, we're illiterate. We don't know what this says. We're trying to figure out what it says. So what we're saying is, just by looking at the shapes of these drawn letters, we're trying to see if the letters speak for themselves because of their shape. And so what we've done is gone through and looked at each letter shape and collectively decided what connotations, like looking at ink blots, are referenced subliminally, because it's not consciously necessarily, right? You don't know what they mean. So kind of a subliminal, intuitive interpretation of what these things mean. And now we're going through and assembling the letters in pairs of 2 or 3, or in this case, 5, just to bring you up to speed where we're at. So we put together these 2 letters, and it means something like a controlled authority. These 2 letters is something working towards a goal that's functional work. These has to do with something, a vision accomplished, moving towards agreement, and this is a kind of what you see and what you put your hands to, joining together to accomplish that. So now we're trying to put these together, and she says this is coming into focus. So the converging of that which is in your mind's eye becoming clear, like if you're blurry, it's because your eye is seeing two different things and not focusing together on the same plane, right? Which is exactly that. So what you put your hand to accomplish, coming into focus to accomplish the goal that you were working towards. Isn't that kind of what this is saying? That's a great summation. Is there anything else you want to, anybody else can see there? Okay, did somebody write that down? Okay, then we'll look at a couple more. Here, if you put this together with this, what do you got? This is, remember, the antenna or the power pole. What a few other things. The trellis, kind of this something organized in such a way as to hold a load, a mast, a sail, right? A sail, if the sail's made out of tissue paper, the wind blows, the sail rips apart. If the mast is built out of some flimsy stick and it gets into a storm, the ship is ruined, right? So this has to be built to handle the load. Okay, this was a mouth or a hook, or what else was this? A sickle. Well, what is a sickle? A sickle is an open mouth that just... It's a tool, it's a weapon. Anything else did we get here? A what? A communication? Huh? I can't hear you.
Both of them, communication, that's what it means.
A what?
Communication.
I'm sorry, I just can't hear you.
Said both of them, it means communication.
Okay, both of them meaning a communication. So if this is a type of antenna and this is a type of a mouth, both of those are communication devices. And if you see the guy like the hooded deaf holding a sickle, this looks like a sickle, that's a communication device. It's like somebody's about to be counted in that number, you know.
He's jumping on his idea. One-on-one communication on the left and many.
Okay, sure. If this is an antenna, one mouth speaks and then it's
Broadcasting.
Okay, this has to do maybe with some kind of a broadcasting theory concept. Okay, so now, if these combined has something to do with broadcasting, before I go to the next one, anybody else throw anything on there? Leave it there? Okay. Now you add this. Now remember, this was the inverted sword, holding the handle, the hilt, the sword, or it was the flag.
Still broadcasting.
Okay, this is like a piercing method. If it was or if it's a flag, you're still giving a message, right? You're saying, all right, we're giving a message here, we're communicating, but it's more rather than a whisper. It's a dynamic. If it's a flag, it's an alert. Okay, so that if you have a flag, a sword, broadcast, that's kind of an alert. That's pretty good.
A proclamation or a declaration?
A trumpet. That would be a trumpet call is an alert. That's okay. Do you see what you guys are doing?
No.
Do you see how you're putting this together? You wouldn't have looked at those three letters and said, "Oh, I see a trumpet call." I mean, I've done this same thing with a number of different people, one-on-one or maybe in a small group. Everybody comes up with different stuff, just so you know. But these are very clear. But these are different things than what other people have seen. But again, we're going towards a goal here. We're going to converge on something in just a moment. So remember, this is your last chance to be illiterate, ignorant of what these words mean. Okay. Anything else? Do you see anything else in here?
It's like social media.
Yeah, it
Social media. There you go.
could be a nation, a flag for a nation.
Well, Twitter's hardly a trumpet call. It's the inverse. That's what it is. It's the inverse. The positive, the negative, the jumping over Pesach, but also the lame Pesach. So trumpet call and Twitter are two polar opposite of the same notion.
CBC's emergency broadcast signal.
There you go. They use a Twitter as a trumpet call of emergency broadcast.
Leader commanding.
The commanding leader, the leader's mouth telling you what's happening.
There's authority or orders You gotta do this. You
This
gotta
is the
pay
ordered
attention.
authority of like, here's the ship with the mast and the wind's blowing and this is where we're going, right? There's the picture.
Commander in chief.
The commander's mouth instructing the charge
Right.
Command the battle.
to command the battle. Again, write these things down.
Orders from headquarters.
Orders from headquarters. There you go. Okay, now, we're going to do one more step. We're going to combine this with this to this. Okay, this is controlled authority, right? That's pretty much it. There's a little bit more to it. And this is putting your hand towards the goal, focusing in to converge on accomplishing the task that was
Wow.
what?
Theoretically practical.
The theoretical made practical. Okay, there's a theoretical goal, and now this is a controlled authority mechanism by which the converging sticks can pull in and cause this thing to happen, focused, planned, and everything accomplished the way it was intended, because it was a controlled authority, not an anachronistic, haphazard, whimsical, but this is specific. And it's referring to the orders from the commander on where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're going to get there, right?
It's
Is that what it
powerful.
says on that rock?
I wouldn't tell you these instructions if you weren't able to do it.
There you go. So what you're telling me, no, wait a minute. A minute ago, I had said that I believed that the instructions given to us from Yahweh, from the Creator, are such that He invented this word, which was all the instructions. It was Himself, and it was everything He wanted to communicate. You could say that's a controlled authority. Okay, so everything in the alphabet is designed, thus controlled, with a specific scope, direction, intent, and then the push. Because remember that lamed is like this push, and somebody said the aleph here was like an arrowhead, right? It's now this push with specific direction. So this controlled authority is almost like the archer aiming the arrow and giving it a certain velocity or charge, right? When you design a cannon, the projectile, the load, the angle is all calculated and regulated to accomplish an exact destination. So whether it's an arrow or whether it's a cannon, it's the same concept of what's happening with this controlled authority. And that which is broadcast from the mouth of the commander is to accomplish getting to the destination when and how and with what, you might say,
With power.
well, there's this concept you got there with his bells on. What does that mean? Well, if your horse carriage got there and you lost the race or you lost half your cargo, they took your bells. So to get there means you've been there and you accomplished it and you're on time, and, this is kind of like, well, getting there with your bells on, right? Now, this is then, well, what are you trying to accomplish? This. Now, can somebody else, before I reiterate the same thing again, that's reiteration again and again, right? Can anybody else put this in your own words, bringing it all together for one final picture? Yes?
Someone, like a teacher, like an intelligent being, educating lower, uneducated people, like someone of authority, someone like a scholar, teaching, like a teacher teaching a class on a subject that everyone in the room except for the teacher is illiterate to.
Okay, so what he's saying is that there's like a teacher in a class.
Like something like, say, like Jesus speaking to a crowd of people.
Okay, so that would be a picture of Jesus speaking to a crowd of people, right? Here's the crowd, like the antenna, and there's his mouth, and there's the magistrate or the big shot. Hi, Colleen. So what you have is him giving using the social media, well, like when he went up to the Mount, I don't know the Mount of Olives, but anyway, he gave Beatitudes. Seeing the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and he sat there and he opened his mouth, and he taught them, saying,
He was able to translate for them so that they could understand what he was.
okay, can everybody hear what he's saying?
someone like Jesus, learning something from a higher being and trying to
Tell you what,
translate it to someone else.
Just to give your own words, you want to come speak into the microphone so it gets on tape what you're trying to say? Here, you can stand next to me and speak into the mic here.
I'm not
So,
sure where
just
but
stand up here. If anybody else has a way to interpret this, we'll just do a couple people. If anybody else has another way to put this all together, please say so, because this is going on the tape, and then I'll show you what it really says. Okay, go ahead.
like a teacher or authority figure, someone of higher intelligence speaking to lower intelligence. Like someone like Jesus learning a subject from someone like God, not an omnipotent being, teaching someone in between an omnipotent being and a sentient being like us, and someone like Jesus trying to translate what an omnipotent being is trying to teach to human. That's what I would.
Okay,
assume.
so if I put this into my words, what I think I heard you say, correct me if I'm wrong, the omnipotent being has a communication he wants to give to the sentient beings, humans, and he speaks through the mouth of somebody who's the knowledgeable teacher like Jesus to the unknowledgeable ones who otherwise wouldn't know except he told them.
Right, yeah. That's what I was.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. Does anybody else have another way to put this into words? You want to come up and say,
No, not really.
or do you want to speak into the microphone? Anybody want to? Okay, tell me, and I'll see if I can translate.
Well, no, I just brought to mind that scripture, just when I was looking at the whole thing about when I said my word shall not come back to me void,
Yes.
but it will accomplish that which I sent it forth, and the word being Yeshua, but it is the word. The authority of the word has authority and will not come back to me void, but it will accomplish that. That's the scripture that came to mind.
Okay, the scripture that comes to mind is this scripture that says, the word that I sent forth, there's this controlled authority like shooting forth the arrow, will not come back to me void. It will accomplish that which I sent it forth to do. So then you mentioned something about what? Yeshua speaking? So he's...
Well, the word being...
The word
I
being...
will send my word.
Okay, so the word will be made comprehensible. So if you could say, well, here's a broadcast alert, a trumpet call, that's to say... Now, if somebody, you said like the Canadian broadcast system, if they go like a cell phone, you go, no one's going to say, whoa, wait a minute, what are we, okay, so a trumpet call or a broadcast alert has got to get the message across. So what she's saying is that the word that went forth from the Almighty's mouth will not return void, which is it will not accomplish it. It will certainly accomplish it as much as a trumpet blast will break through whatever your conscious mind is doing and alert you to such interest that you respond and take care of the matter. And what's the matter to be taken care of? In the context of what I think you're saying, the matter is understand the words that he said, which will focus you in to accomplish the covenant, right? This sign of the covenant. So the covenant, which was the intention and the practical reality. So the belief, the knowledge in your mind, and the working hand. James said something about, don't say you believe in God, put your hand to the task and show your belief by the faithful actions you do to help one another, right? That was the manifestation of your true faith in a working process. So the Almighty's decrees are put into practical expression as the urgent, which is to say significant, with repercussions if you don't, and also you might say with reward and benefit if you do. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, there's more to it than that, but that's essentially.
Okay, does anybody else have, yes?
I go, Jehovah has in his mind. That's
Say that again?
Jehovah has in his mind, before it comes to pass, has broadcast to his people.
What the Almighty Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh has in his mind, before it comes to pass, he broadcasts his people. He's going to tell his people ahead of time, giving them fair warning of either the blessing or the curse, right? He's going to say, do this or else you're going to get cursed, so you better change your path. Or he's going to say, do this and receive the blessing, so I'm telling you now so you can do it, so that when the time comes to get the blessing, you get the blessing. That's basically what you're saying, right?
That's what he said
Okay.
to Noah. He says he doesn't do anything without telling his saints or prophets first.
He doesn't do anything unless he tells his people first.
I think it's in Genesis.
Now, if I can remember correctly where this was, it's in Isaiah. You know, I don't even remember. I'll tell you what, oh, here it is. Isaiah 29:11. Now, the reason I even stumbled across this verse is because I was looking at Daniel. And in Daniel chapter 12, the angel, the archangel, Gabriel, is speaking to Daniel, and he says, Daniel, I got a job for you to do, and I'm going to equip you to do it. Hide the words and seal the book. Now, many are going to run to and fro. Knowledge increases. Running to and fro doing what? You might think that many are running to and fro looking for the words, or you might think that these are the days where many people are simply running to and fro. But nevertheless, either way, money will run to and fro, knowledge shall increase. And then he goes on with the rest of chapter 12, and at a later point, verse 9, he reiterates, that's verse 4, verse 9, he reiterates and said, okay, the words are hidden and sealed. They will be elucidated, clarified, and refined by many. Does that mean they're found? No, it means the words will be elucidated, clarified, refined by many, which sounds like translations. So there's going to be a bunch of different translations. Are the people looking for the meanings of the words? If they're looking for the meanings of the words with many translations, but Daniel was told to hide the words and seal the book, then that doesn't mean that the words that he hid have yet been found. But he said, hide them until the time of the end. The word end is spelled kufzadi, which can also be translated as wake up. Hide the words and seal the book until the time that my people wake up, is another way to read that. But what did Daniel hide? And where's the book that Daniel sealed? We've been told that these are the days of the end, in which case, by legal contract, you might say, Daniel was told by the archangel Gabriel, hide the words, seal the book, until, oh, that means it's only for a certain length of time, until the time of the end. If these are indeed the time of the end, then we get to find the book, and we get to find the words, and that means that we get to have the words unsealed and unscrambled so we know what they mean. But then if you read, okay, let me ask you a question. And again, if anybody has heard me talk about this before, don't answer, but I just want to give people just a brief moment here to ponder. What are the words and where's the book that Daniel hid? Has anybody found it yet? Have any preachers in the pulpit told you where the book is and what the words are that Daniel hid? You might say, well, listen, you know, there was a shepherd boy throwing rocks in a cave in Qumran back in the 40s, and he hid something, he goes inside and he finds a scroll, a pottery with scrolls in it, and then they found a whole bunch of them, but I don't know that any of those are necessarily the book of Daniel, and even if it was the book of Daniel, I've already got the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel couldn't have been what he hid. What did he hide? What did he do? And he says, they are hidden and sealed. Verse 9, whatever Daniel was then put his hand to in verse 4, the angel as of verse 9 says, good job, Daniel, it's done, it's accomplished. Boy, those things are really hidden up tight until the time of the end. And it's like, what did Daniel do? What it says is, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. What did Daniel do there? Nothing. So then Daniel, looked. I saw one on this side of the river and one on that side of the river. Daniel didn't do anything. Oh, and then he noticed one above the waters of the river dressed in white linen. He didn't do anything. And he says, hey, you, up there above the river, how long until the end of these wonders? The word wonder there, by the way, is paleo, but hidden mystery. And he said, he held up his hand, and that guy, the one above the waters of the river, held up his right hand and his left hand, and he swore by him who lives forever. He swore? Why would he swear? Hey, now it, Daniel! What's that?
Promise.
He promised?
Yes, sure.
See, the word to swear is also promise or to make sure. It's an oath or a vow. Actually, it's number 7 in Hebrew. 7 is to swear to vow. So he said it would be for what we have translated, time, times, and half a time, until, then he qualifies it, until the end of the fragmenting of the hands of the Kadosh people, the holy people, the set-apart people, Israel, you might say, till all these things be accomplished. And then Daniel says, well, I heard, but I didn't understand. I don't get it. So he says, hey, I'm going to ask you again. When will all these things be accomplished? How long? And then that guy says, get out of here, Daniel. Go! The words are hidden and sealed until the time beyond. What did Daniel just do? Do you see it? Do you see in there what Daniel just did? What did he do? We'll get there in a moment. Okay, so that's Daniel 12. It's still a little bit more. What will they? The words, as I said, many translations, they will be elucidated, clarified, refined by many people. Then he says, the wicked will act wickedly. Okay, there's a lot of that going on these days. None of the wicked will understand. Understand what? Understand the words? But is he talking about the words, or is he talking about something that he saw? He saw one on this side of the river, that side of the river. He's told to hide the words. There's time, and half the time. None of the wicked will understand. Heck, even the church boys don't understand this. What does he mean? The wicked won't understand what? What's there to understand? Is the meaning of the words. None of the wicked will understand. But the wise will understand. But the words were hidden. How can the wise understand the words if the words were hidden? I thought the book was sealed like a scroll in a pottery tucked away in a cave somewhere in the Middle East. Let me just read a couple more here. Oh, go ahead. You raised your hand. Excuse me. Go ahead. The words in your heart? How did Daniel hide words in your heart? Daniel, this is about 500 BC. Daniel was told to put his hand to do something, hide the words. I could show you the details, but the words spelled het tav mem and samet tav mem are hide and seal, and it means to obfuscate, to make unclear, to make ambiguous of general opinion without a consensus. We were trying to find a consensus as to what these words mean, and Daniel was told to do something that made that consensus impossible. Yes?
It's like hiding in plain sight.
Hiding in plain sight. Daniel was told to do something to make the words incomprehensible. How did he do it? And then he says, from the time the daily offering was removed and the mute abomination was put in place, well, that's otherwise known as the abomination of desolation. Somebody said once a few years ago that's the Arabs putting Yasser Arafat's bones buried on the top of the Temple Mount. It's like, whatever. That would be an abomination, but whatever. Maybe it wouldn't be. Anyway, is 1,290 years. Praiseworthy is he who waits and reaches 1,335 years. As for you, speaking to Daniel, go to the end, your end, you will rest, then arise for your portion at the end of days. That's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the book of Daniel. Did you see what he hid? No. You can't see what he hid. Did he hide it in plain sight? How do I focus my eyes? Okay, then I thought, when I looked at that, I thought, sealed book. What is there about a sealed book? And then I found over here, Isaiah, was it 29:11? Back up a little bit here in the context. Go to verse 9. Isaiah 29, verse 9. Ponder it and be astonished. They have been utterly blinded. They were drunk, but not for wine. They staggered, but not from liquor. Now, if you go back and you say, well, what's he talking about? This is what he said. We're reading English here, but I'm trying to get to a point. These guys are absolutely dumbfounded and confused. If you look at the word for many shall run to and fro, people say, well, look, we got cars and airplanes and, jet skis. Everybody's running to and fro. But that word to and fro is yod, shin, tet, tet, vav, and what it means is apostasy and to deviate. And it's a picture of oars splashing on the water like a big galley ship with 100 oars, but instead of them pulling in unison, they're all over the place, and that ship's not going anywhere. So it means they're running all over the place trying to find something, and yet nothing's happening because they're completely bewildered. And here, a similar theme, though not necessarily talking about the same subject, is talking about people who are utterly blinded staggering and reeling, though not even from drinking too much, but just absolutely bamboozled from what? From bad teaching, from bad preaching, from not knowing these words because Daniel hid them. But Daniel and Isaiah were separated for quite a few years, talking about a completely different subject, but the subject in common theme here is simply the sealed book. So I'm going to put these together and say here, verse 10, or verse 18. And your covenant with death, am I reading the right place? No, wrong city, wrong word. And I was reading on the top of the page. For Yahweh has poured upon you a spirit of deep sleep, and He has closed your eyes. Who's He speaking to? We got to go back and read, but let's say He's speaking to us. Okay, it's not our fault we can't see. It's not our fault we're reeling. It's not our fault we're just going around and saying, where's the truth? Because He hid the words and sealed the book and told us to until, remember the word kufzadi means to wake up. It does mean end. It does mean like come to the end, like end of the world. That's the way it's been translated and regarded, but it can mean wake up. Yod kufzadi means to be awake. And if He said, I've made you close your eyes, deep sleep, woken up. He has covered the prophets and your chiefs, the seers. In other words, He's absolutely blinded even the wise men who have the gift and the anointing of seeing what's happening. He's made it so they can't see what's going on. To you all, the true prophecy is like the words of a sealed document. Hey, Daniel was told to seal the document. Which one gives to a literate person saying, okay, you're going to take the sealed document and give it to the literate person and say, read this please. And he says, I cannot, for it is sealed. Now, who are the literate ones? The clerks, the clergy, the clerics. That means literate. Nike over the laity. Those are the literate ones, and they are saying right here, I don't know really what this is about because I can't see it, because I was put into a coma, a slumber by Yahweh Himself, to where we cannot know what the truth is or where we're going or accomplish anything that He wanted accomplished. And then He says, verse 12, the document is given to an illiterate person. We just did this. You guys were a room full of illiterates a few minutes ago, and He says, read this please, and the illiterate person says these words, Lo yadati sefer. And you guys just translated what was in that book that was sealed. Do you realize that? You guys just translated the sealed book as illiterates. What is in this document that's sealed? The controlled authority has a purpose that He wants to accomplish according to the terms of the covenant. And we rebelled, so He took the words away. But the words of the Messiah will take us there if we listen to what He said, because everything He says is exactly on track with what Yahweh purposed, and it's right here in these words. Or does somebody else want to read what we said these words translated as? But these words translated says, the word lo means no.
No.
What's the controlled authority? No. But it's translated as simply no, but it's really a controlled authority. What the word yadati means? The word da'at is understand, it's knowledge. Yod means He will, and Yod at the end means my. He will understand my knowledge, or the knowledge of my covenant. But it's simply translated as no, K-N-O-W. Negative, knowing, I know, I don't know. And this word sefer is translated as book, which is where we get the word cipher. I do not know books. I am illiterate. You guys just translated the word that says, I am illiterate, and you interpreted the meaning of the entire scriptures from cover to cover, which is exactly the message of the entire book. As if you were smarter than the prophets, sages, and seers whose eyes He has closed. Do you realize what you just did?
That's huge.
That's really big. I mean, this is absolutely astounding.
mean we're in the end of days?
The end of the self-induced coma of ignorance.
Good answer.
I don't know how to read. You can't say that. Because you didn't know how to read. I didn't even tell you what these letters mean. You realize that? I did not tell you what these letters mean. You looked at the shape of the letters and you figured it out, and you just said more than all the wise men and all the sages, because Yahweh has closed their eyes until the time that his people, according to Daniel, and then you look at the word, until the time. Until the time is spelled Ayin Dalet, hyphenated to Ayin Tav, and then he says Kuf Zadi. Well, the word I said, if you put a yod here, it's a prefix meaning he will do this, and this word is translated then as awake. It's in the dictionary, it simply says it's the word end. End of what? End of the world? End of the self-induced coma? Okay, what do these mean? Ayin Dalet is simply translated as the word until, and this is simply translated as the word time. Okay, so if you just trust the dictionary and rely on a translation, it says, until the time of the end. Okay, Daniel, hide the word syllable until the time of the end. Okay. You can't go any farther unless you look. So if you do what we just did, what you end up with is eyeball, which is understand, think, ponder, consider, evaluate, measure, weigh and balance. That's exactly what the word ayin means. You'll see it in the dictionary, which is what we just did. We just did this job. I. This Dalet is a door. This is the word I again. And this is the sign or the mark of the covenant, which Yahweh happened to say was the Shabbat, right? So the Shabbat is actually the sign of the covenant. But this doesn't necessarily mean Shabbat, not necessarily, but it's understand the sign, or understand what the covenant means, and understand the significance of the Shabbat. So you might say, understand who or what is the door, hyphenated, joined, connected to, understanding the significance of the covenant, understanding the sign of the covenant, understanding the significance of the Shabbat. And if you look at Leviticus 23, he says, these are my Moedim. It's not just Shabbat, but it's also the 7 covenants. And if you look at that word, which means a sign, a mark, a signal, an oath, a vow or an oath is spelled Shin Bet Ayin. And remember, this is a Shavah, which is the number 7, which is also the number vow. And that means this is what belongs to, and this is the quest. We mentioned that earlier, the quest, or to ask, or to seek, okay? So the number 7 literally means seeking to understand the vow, or understand the vow is to 7 something. It's the same exact word for 7. If you... Boy, my mind just jumped off track there for a second. Here, if you say to understand the sign of the covenant, the word oath, that's where I was going, oath, aleph, vav, tav, is the word, this is a silent letter, but this is pronounced as an O and a T, so that's where we get T or TH, which is where we get the word oath, which is the word for sign, signal, or a symbol. So if you say this oath is the same as this oath, what is the vow? In the red dictionary, you'll see this same word also means a letter of the alphabet. Every letter of the alphabet is a sign, a signal, a symbol, an icon like a logo, which is one of the terms of the covenant vow. So if you understand that his oath, and then if you look in Jeremiah 31, you'll see the word OT means me. It's translated me. He himself is represented by every letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is his oath. And I've got a camera swap here. And the sign itself, to understand it, can mean understanding the letters of his alphabet, understanding the Sabbath day, understanding the terms of the covenant, but it's hyphenated to understanding the door. What door? Oh, this door? We're supposed to, all these days, we're here at the time of understanding these things, we're supposed to understand this door? Nobody cares about that door. He's not talking about that door. If this is one, this is Daniel 12. The angel said these words. Daniel, hide the words and seal the book. Edit. That's kind of like the English word. Change the words and put them in their true context, right? Edit the words. Play on words. Until the time. Kutz. Until the time of the end. Hide the words and seal the book until the time. Until the time that you both understand the terms of the covenant by seeing the significance of Shabbat and the letters and the vow, but that you understand the door. What door? Yeshua happened to say the words, I am the door. And if you have not been allowed to read the words of life in the New Testament, where Yeshua said, I am the door, you will not have this half of the equation. You will be searching for a door as much as those oars splashing, doing apostasy, looking, because if you don't want to choose to believe, or you never had the opportunity to hear who Yeshua truly is, and what he meant by saying that I am the door, then you can't have this. Now, if you believe that Yeshua said, hey, there ain't no stinking Torah, and that the covenant terms were done away with, and the Sabbath day was changed, and the letters of the alphabet were changed to the miraculous Greek, and the Holy Spirit-inspired English, then you won't have this. But this is a catch-22. And there happens to be 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. The catch-22, you can't have this unless you have this, but you can't have this unless you have this. So either you have both or you have neither. If you understand that Yeshua is the one who is described by the 22 letters, that's him. That's his identity. And if he has a different identity, it's not him. Yeshua must be the guy described by these 22 letters. But what are the 22 letters? They describe him. In other words, you can't look at the 22 letters. Well, you can, and you can say, here, this is true. I'll tell you what the letters mean. Here. Aleph is an ox. Bet is house. Gimel is camel. When I say is, the word Gimel means camel. The word Aleph literally means ox. The word Dalet literally is door. Okay? These are literal words. Hey means the, to point to. Vav is a nail. It means and. Zion is a weapon, to cut off. Chet is a fence, an enclosure. Tet is a full basket, to contain something. Yod is a working hand, causal agent. Kaf, literally the open hand, is drawn like the open hand. Lamed means teach and learn. It's a shepherd's staff. Mem is water. And as such, some people say it means chaos because water is unstable. You just bump it and it shows you. It doesn't mean it's chaotic. It means it registers truth. Is there a vibration? You see a vibrate. Anyway, that's more about water. Noon is translated as fish, like Joshua, son of Nun, but as that it means like a fish that jumps out of the water, or to jump, its life, its action. Samik is a prop. We looked at it and said it was an engineered structure like a antenna. That's exactly what it is. It's that which props up like a trellis or a power pole. Ayin is the word eyeball, meaning intelligent thinking, considering, weighing, and balancing. Pei, the word is mouth, that which opens, just like you guys saw. Zadi is a sprout or a fish hook or something which comes off of something else. It's a picture like of resurrection. Or Kuf, it's the back of the head. It means after this, which is a long reach into the future, that which follows behind you like the wake of a ship or footsteps. Resh, you guys saw it. The head of a noble man, a flag, a sword. That's what it is. It's the head. It's the uppermost. Sheen is teeth, which means fire or shining or that which consumes. And Tav literally simply means mark or the sign of the end, like skull and crossbones. You go here, you're dead. That's what the letters mean. Did you see the Messiah in there? I told you what the letters mean, but if you only think they mean ox, house, door, camel, you'll miss it. They are the terms of the covenant. But the terms of the covenant are, now I'll read you the alphabet, and then we'll take a break. Aleph, the omnipotent, eternal, creator of all things, on the other side of the creation event, who made Bet the creation, who then Gimel put the creation into motion, focusing Dalet on the earth, back up, put himself into material form, Bet, Gimeling, traveling to Dalet, the earth, where he would present the door. Hey, look, there's the door, as Vav, the man. So he would bag it. The word spelled Bet Gimel Dalet, Baged means to put in a deceiving form like baggy clothing. It is the word for clothing. in a deceptive form, hey, Vav, looking like a man, revealing to man the door, but looking like a man who would be distinguished, Zion, like an officer wearing a hat or a halo around somebody saying, hey, look at that.